All right, so we're diving into the Alfred E. Smith dinner. Think of it as a political roast,
Yeah.
but like with a side of high society fundraising. And you can't forget the whole Catholic Church angle.
It's definitely a unique event on the American political calendar, almost a century old now. What gets me is how it brings together like serious charitable work, right? But also cutting edge political humor. And then you've got the whole Catholic Church context all in one room.
It's a wild mix. And the best part, we've got the transcript from the 2024 dinner,
Yeah.
just weeks before the election, by the way. So we're basically eavesdropping on this super exclusive event. The who's who of New York were there.
Talk about a pressure cooker. Trump and Harris are neck and neck in the polls. This dinner is an incredible snapshot of that moment.
The stakes could be higher.
Yeah.
And then you got Jim Gaffigan hosting Mr. King of Clean Comedy himself.
Right.
But don't forget, he's Catholic, too. He even jokes about how he has to go easy on the candidates. Wouldn't want to jeopardize that next gig, right?
It's such a great observation about political humor these days, especially in our current climate. It's like he's juggling all these different audiences, the people at the dinner, the church, the whole country's watching.
And then Trump walks in. No teleprompter. And, well, he goes full Trump. He even calls out the whole teleprompter thing, says they don't even have him for Gaffigan.
Classic Trump.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting about that? The no teleprompter thing, that's deliberate. He's crafting an image, the authentic candidate, unscripted, speaking his mind. It plays so well with his base.
It's like he's saying, I'm the real deal, even in this super formal setting.
Exactly.
But then there's the elephant not in the room, Kamala Harris. She's a no-show. Sent a video message instead.
It's deafening, especially considering what her candidacy represents, right? Both Gaffigan and Trump jumped on that, framed it as her being out of touch, disrespectful even.
Gaffigan even joked that she was too busy doing Call Her Daddy.
Ouch. It plays right into this potential weakness for her. Like she's too caught up in the world of media and celebrity, a world that doesn't exactly scream Catholic Church values.
So you've got this fascinating dynamic already. You've got Trump, the man of the people, but also, a billionaire. And Harris, who could be the first female president, stuck with this out-of-touch label.
It really highlights the state of things right now, doesn't it? The clash between image and reality.
And this is where it gets even more interesting. Trump actually brings up the 2016 Al Smith dinner. Admits maybe he went a little too far with the jokes. Even mentions getting the side-eye from Cardinal Dolan.
I know. You can almost feel him trying to find the line this time.
But come on, it's Trump. He couldn't resist a few jabs. Especially Harris.
True. There's definitely some restraint, but you can tell it's a balancing act. He wants to seem more presidential, but without losing that, well, Trumpian humor.
Right. He's got a brand to maintain. But it wasn't all jokes. He did touch on some serious topics. Ukraine, the importance of faith, even called for unity at one point.
That's the thing about this dinner. It's this weird mix of humor and sincerity. Even in this hyper-partisan climate, there are still moments of shared values.
And we can't forget the reason for the dinner in the first place. It raises millions for vulnerable New Yorkers. We're talking about kids in poverty, homelessness, addiction, real people's lives.
It adds a whole other layer to everything.
It's this crazy tapestry, right? Humor, faith, politics, and then actual important causes.
Absolutely.
So ready to unpack some of the specific jokes and moments. I'm curious what you make of them.
Let's do it. There's one that comes to mind right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Gaffigan, he had this bit about undecided voters, like practically begging them to make up their minds.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
He's like, come on, people, you can't tell the difference.
He really nailed it. The whole absurdity of it, it's like, how can you even be undecided at this point?
I know, right? It says a lot about where we are politically. So divided.
It's two different worlds. And if you're not on one side or the other...
You're an alien.
Basically. Speaking of different worlds, Trump calling himself a random millionaire, surrounded by billionaires. So good.
Peak Trump, for sure.
Right. Like he's mocking the elite, but he's also one of them. It's brilliant.
He's a master at that, having it both ways. He can connect with people who resent the wealthy, but he also loves that billionaire lifestyle.
Totally. But you know what was interesting to me? Kamala's video message.
What about it?
It was just so expected.
Yeah, I get that. Very on brand for her, hitting all the right notes, talking about the church's work, calling for unity.
Right. But it felt kind of flat, especially in that setting.
It's true. Authenticity plays well at the Al Smith dinner. Humor, too. She missed an opportunity there.
Big time. This could have been huge for her. Show a different side. More relatable. But instead,
She played it safe, which just reinforces the whole out-of-touch thing.
totally, like, she's more worried about saying the perfect thing than actually connecting with people. And speaking of things that might not land well, Trump's jokes about her laugh.
Oof. Yeah, that was a choice.
I mean, they were funny.
Some of them, sure.
But there's this whole other layer there, right?
Totally. It plays into this thing about women in power. Like, they can't be too loud or expressive.
Exactly.
So it's like, whether he meant it or not, it undermines her authority.
It's that old double standard.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder if a woman could ever get away with that kind of humor in politics. But anyway, it's important to remember this is a charity event.
Oh, absolutely. We can't forget that.
They raise a ton of money for people who really need it.
The church does amazing work with that money.
It's easy to get caught up in the political drama. But at its core, this dinner is about helping people.
Compassion, community.
Exactly. Even in the middle of an election, there's still room for that.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this event. It's politics, faith, humor, and social responsibility all mixed together.
It's like America in a nutshell.
Right. All the good and the bad.
Uh,
Speaking of which, Trump's story about Cardinal Dolan asking him for billions to save Catholic schools during the pandemic.
Whoa, yeah. Talk about an awkward moment.
That was a glimpse behind the curtain. The church and political power. It's complicated.
To say the least. And Dolan's right there in the room, and he doesn't even disagree.
It shows you the tightrope these religious leaders have to walk.
Big time.
They need to work with whoever's in power to get things done, even if they don't agree with everything.
Especially when it comes to helping those in need.
Right.
But still, that whole exchange was a little too close for comfort.
I'm with you there. Definitely made me squirm a little.
And then Trump casually mentions surviving assassination attempts.
I know, right? Like, it's no big deal.
But it's chilling when you think about it.
It reminds you of the stakes, the weight of that office, and then he brings up God protecting him.
Of course he did.
It's a powerful narrative.
So smart.
He knows his audience. He frames it like he's chosen, destined for greatness.
It all ties into faith,
Right.
which is huge in American politics.
Absolutely. It shapes how people see things, even their leaders. But hey, it wasn't all serious. There were some genuinely funny moments, too.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's what makes the Al Smith dinner so interesting. It's a place where you can have faith, politics, and humor all at the same time.
Even in these crazy divided times, we can still laugh together. Sometimes, at least. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention some of the more controversial moments.
That's true. And the one that comes to mind? That's true. And the one that comes to mind, well, it's got to be Trump's whole bit about the White Dudes for Harris group.
Oh, yeah. That one was something. On the surface, it's like he's going after identity politics, right? Saying you can't predict someone's vote just because of their race or gender.
Right, which, you know, plays well with his base. A lot of them feel like they're the ones being targeted by those labels.
Exactly. But then he takes it there. He starts talking about their wives, and then their wives' lovers.
It got a little
A
uncomfortable.
little. It went from 0 to 60 real quick.
It's like he's tapping into this whole other level of anxiety. Infidelity. Powerful women.
Sealing their men.
Exactly. It's playing on those fears, you know?
Yeah.
Social change. Shifting power dynamics. Whether he meant it or not, it sends a message.
Oh, it sends a message, right? Like he's saying, even if you're a white dude for Harris, deep down your wife, well, you know.
It's a dog whistle. Plain and simple.
Loud and clear.
And it shows you the power of those deep-seated anxieties. For all the talk about moving past identity politics.
It's still very much alive and well.
Absolutely. Just maybe a little more coded these days.
More insidious.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder if we'll ever really move past all the division, the prejudice.
It's the question, isn't it? It's been there since the beginning. This country's always wrestled with it. And events like this, the Al Smith dinner.
They hold up a mirror.
They do. It's
Yeah.
all there. The humor, the politics. It can be uncomfortable. But it's also fascinating.
Like a weird, distorted reflection. You see the good, the bad, everything.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so interesting to unpack. It's not just a dinner. It's a microcosm of America. All the complexities, the contradictions.
And maybe, just maybe, if we can laugh at it all, recognize the absurdity.
Maybe then we can start to have a real conversation.
An honest one. A productive one.
You got it.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into the 2024 Al Smith dinner. What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I'd say, remember, even when it's supposed to be lighthearted, there's always more to it.
Right. Don't just listen to the words.
Pay attention to the context, the subtext, what's not being said.
Read between the lines.
Exactly, because that's how you really understand what's going on, in politics and everywhere else.
It's about being informed, being engaged.
And who knows, you might even enjoy it.
A little laughter never hurt anyone. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep asking those tough questions.